Routines lead to rewards. You always hear about routines. It's what it takes to succeed. You need consistency. Well, it's true. Unless you want to risk winging it the rest of your life and let it take you where it wants. There's a saying that if you don't work on turning your dreams into reality, you're just helping someone else build theirs. In order to see change occur in your life, you need to implement some core routines. As mundane as it sounds, if you were to audit your life, the day-to-day, each hour, then take a bird's eye view of what you do, you'll be shocked about how much time you actually waste. Eric, the hip-hop preacher, said in one of his motivating speeches that went viral that if he took some of the people's phones in that classroom, they would become successful. That phone in your pocket could be a tool or a toy, and how you use it can determine the outcome of your future. It's easier said than done. These social media sites know exactly how to keep us in the habit loop of doom scroll. But the good news is that you can outsmart your monkey brain too. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about what inspired me to create a solid routine and how it led me to live the life I've always wanted. One of the best pieces of wisdom I heard over the last 5 years was simply clean your room. A quote from Dr. Jordan Peterson. Essentially, before you go out and try to change the world, fix your own reality first. This resonated with me and many other people. It hammered for me a focus that I need to implement in my own life and made me realize that I needed to create for myself instead of looking at the curated lives of other people. The issues that people posted about on social media. Social media is merely a construct of some of the best and some of the worst things that are going on in the online world. But we all know the algorithm will do anything for clicks, and unfortunately, topics that elicit reactions, headlines that make you look, get the most attention. They favor the things that cause aggravation, frustration, or create FOMO. My new perspective pulled me away from being triggered by what I saw on the news from both left and right sources. I grew up in Texas and lived in California for more than 14 years. So my social media feed has a nice balance of both split opinions about this or that political topic, whatever that is popular, whatever the topic of the week is. At the end of the day, they were just opinions. And when I broke away from outside focuses and started to work on myself, I was able to block the mental fatigue and baggage that would come from the social media loudspeaker. This led me to question my use of social media, and I started to do a life audit. My life is already quite unpredictable since I chose to pursue acting as a profession. It's an ongoing journey and things have taken time to work out in my favor. It took 7 years to book my first co-star, another 3 years to book a guest star, then another 4 years to book a recurring guest star in Taylor Sheridan's hit TV show, Special Ops Lioness. Check it out on Paramount+. Prior to the recent success, the mistake I made was allowing other things in my life to also be unpredictable. Don't get me wrong, there are many pros when you get a nice W in this business. You get to work with amazing people. You get to travel. There are a lot of nice perks being part of the union. No job is ever the same. The con is you may not know when you'll work your next job. Also, you have to find work that'll allow you to stay flexible for auditions. Can't miss auditions. You never know which audition will be the one that makes your career. For me, it was always a struggle to find balance. I would obsess about getting my foot in the door and my willpower with other things would diminish. When I wasn't acting, I was dabbling in other things that were also unpredictable. Parties, masked as social events, dates, hoping to find my muse, counterproductive hobbies like playing too much poker. Even though I won a decent amount, I never created a proper bankroll, the smart way to level up in the game of poker. I couldn't handle the swings, the ups and downs of making a living playing the game. It's a grind, and anybody who makes 6 figures consistently year after year has some major discipline. Something wasn't working. I needed to make a change, and here came the life audit. To understand what I could do to improve my life, I decided to audit everything I did on a regular basis. I took out a blank sheet of paper and started what I call a brain dump. I literally wrote out every thought that was occupying my mind. And I did it in an unordered list. And I wrote unordered list at the top of the page because sometimes my type A mind wasn't happy with things out of order. Thanks, Mom. Then after that, I would go back through the list and prioritize them from top to bottom, what needs to be done in what chronological order. That way, I could focus and take action. Otherwise, my brain would stay scrambled. Once my mind was clear of the constant thought, holy smokes, did this do wonders. I started to get why people wrote down their goals all the time, even if it's repetitive. It works. We lose focus on what's not top of mind. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "You become what you think about all day long." And all I can think about for the longest time was how well my fantasy football team was doing. See, if I didn't take this exercise to heart, I too would be emotionally attached on the outcome of my fantasy football team. Don't get me wrong, I love it and I bond with my friends and brothers over who scored the most points or who was the player of the week, yada yada. The truth is, I'd rather enjoy football on another level. I want box seats. I want to one day on the Houston Texans. Hey, if Gary Vee can put it out there about the Jets, why not me and the Texans? I'll even settle for being a minority owned. The point is, I want more real football because it's a more special experience. It's an in-person experience. Little things like that help me adjust my goals and continue the life audit, starting with the brain dump and then choosing to level up areas where I feel like I've plateaued. I use a Rocketbook because I'm able to easily clean the pages. I can scan them with the app, digitize them for later reference, and it has a nice clean design. It's easy to travel with too. Next is the time audit. The next step I take is to create time blocks for my day. My typical morning would consist of waking up, looking at my phone for alerts, news, and social media activity. My routine upgraded now, and it's to write for 90 minutes after a TM session, Transcendental Meditation, which is my go-to form of meditation that I was introduced to about 8 years ago. That in itself would be a video. It basically primes me to get creative. The 90-minute writing session helps me clear my mind. It helps me share ideas, thoughts, insights on subjects that interest me outside of acting. It's similar to a brain dump. I write, I don't create too many restrictions on it. And as an entrepreneur, I'm always constantly thinking of innovation, productivity, and ways I can try to learn to better myself through improved habits. So these writing sessions help me start the day. I can then go about mundane tasks, doing them without any FOMO because I've already fed my soul a little bit with some creative output. If I start the opposite, by the time the day starts to end, I don't really have much energy left and I tend to watch something or play a game. I'll do anything but the creative because at that point, I've already used up all the mental bandwidth I have that I would prefer to save at the beginning of the day so that I can feed that creative need. I start the day on my terms, not on somebody else. If I went contrarian to this, which I have in the past, such as read an email or an eBay message about something customer service related, an issue that requires my input, then my day involves someone else's agenda, which limits my creativity and can get my adrenaline going when I don't need it just yet. I want to read the messages when I can take action on them then and there. Solve it or archive it, I like to say. When I approach my day with the time blocking system, I get a bird's eye view of what I can expect. Then I can make room for some randomness when it comes about. I mean, life is pretty random. This approach helps give me peace of mind. Remember, the more predictable my day, the better, the more consistent I can be with good, healthy habits. It also allows for some wiggle room if I decide to watch something for entertainment purposes later. I don't feel guilty. The next part is health and my decision to learn to cook. One of the best clips I read from an article in Success Magazine was from a CEO entrepreneur type person. I forget their name, but it was basically something like this. We negotiate with ourselves every day on things we want to do and things we don't want to do. And for me, the gym is non-negotiable. I really like that frame of mind and started to become more aware of the negotiations I was having with my own self in life in all aspects. We all know that there are many benefits to exercising, so I don't need to go into too much detail about it, but anecdotally, I can say there's a big difference in my mood and confidence when I knock out a workout. And I find myself negotiating, oh, like maybe I'll go later, or maybe I'll go tomorrow and do double the workout. But then sometimes when I play that game with myself, I don't end up going at all. And then I miss a day, which becomes a habit. And then I don't see the results that I want. I also don't perform as well in the other areas. I've had many ups and downs when it comes to my physique too. I've been around 10% body fat, actually right at 10%. And I've been upwards to 25, probably 28% body fat. I have to be honest, I like myself when I'm lower in body fat and I can see the results and how it impacts those other areas of my life as a side effect, as a positive side effect. I have more energy. I can work longer hours without fatigue. I also found that when I would go to the gym consistently, I was less likely to eat junk food. Charles Duhigg from The Power of Habit calls this a keystone habit. When one positive habit helps encourage another, helps promote another. Learning to cook more than just ramen and eggs was also a goal of mine. If I was going to be healthy by going to the gym, save money by eating at home, I might as well learn to cook a decent decent meal. There are some principles when it comes to cooking, how to make a meal, have that umami, how to have a meal that tastes good, isn't just bland, and healthy food tends to have a bad reputation for being bland. So there's some tricks and little hacks that you can implement that I've learned over the years just by trial and error and seeing some people post about it that helps you enhance some flavors. And those little tricks help with adherence, aka the ability to stick to something. So if you're able to figure out, like me, how to season your meals to make them taste better, you can use things like Flavor God, which is like a better version, a larger version of Mrs. Dash. And you can add that to a variety of your meal preps. If you're doing a meal prep approach, then one day you can have lemon pepper chicken, and the next day you can have like her garden salsa seasoning, or like maybe like a spice mix, and that helps change up the monotony of the same meal. Because when you meal prep, you're usually preparing multiple of the same protein and multiple of the same veggie, because when you're meal prepping, you're doing a bulk cook, breaking it down into like 3 or 4 meals. I've tried in the past making other proteins and mixing and matching, but if you leave something in the fridge for more than 3-4 days, I found it starts to not taste as good. So I prefer to like batch cook, same protein, same veggie. Sometimes I'll throw in a third random item to help change things up, but then I'll season those items differently. So every day I'm tasting something different. It might be the same protein, it might be the same veggie, but it's ultimately a different dish. So I personally enjoy cooking, so it doesn't feel like a chore to me. I listen to audiobooks when I'm washing my dishes. So I even turned the mundane chore of washing dishes into a learning experience. The best alternative though is to subscribe to a meal plan type like Factor Meals. And I'm not sponsored by them. It's just something my brother uses since he has more life commitments than I do, and it works for him. He can choose the type of meals that fit into his lifestyle, and he's good to go. I've enjoyed a few meals with him post-workout at his place. It's so much easier than the whole cooking and cleaning process that I go through, but it costs more money. One other revelation that came to me when the subject of diet has come up over the years is that everyone's different. What works for me or this person or that person may not work for another. And I found myself trying to give my mom advice once, since years ago the keto diet was working for me, but she wasn't necessarily seeking advice, so mine wasn't going to work. Eventually, she asked me for advice on how to lose a little bit of belly fat. And before I could respond to her, it clicked. I had an epiphany. I said, Mom, I'm not sure what will work for you, but your current approach, the food obviously isn't. So try something out for a month or two. See if it works. See if you like it. There are many types of diets to choose from that I don't necessarily endorse, but I know that have worked for other people, including Whole30, keto, paleo, vegan, carnivore, Atkins, and the list goes on. There's many different diets and factors that can affect people differently. So this is not advice on what you should do, just an example of how I realized you get excited about the results and you want to share it with the world, you want to share it with your loved ones, but be careful and understand that they might not want to, and it might not work for them, because at the end of the day, what I do know works is the sicko calories in, calories out approach. And I know there are some recent videos and recent clips about people talking about the type of calorie matters, and that, yes, that's true. Getting your calories from junk food, and even if you're in a calorie deficit, you still might not be internally healthy, but you're likely to lose weight. When I first approached this eat less calories and not work out approach to life, I did lose belly fat. I did lose overall weight, but I was what's known as skinny fat. I was slender, but I didn't really have much muscle mass on. So I didn't look as fit as I would have if I did lift weights in addition to having a caloric deficit. Right now, I'm working on a bulk, so I'm eating more calories than I burn. I'm being strategic about the calories I take in, try to eat healthy calories. But at the end of the day, if I'm missing out on 600 calories, I will lean towards just eating a meal, and I'm not too picky about what it is, so I can get that surplus. But most importantly, the biggest takeaway from this is if you're looking for some good advice, I recommend an expert who has been kind of a guide for me. His name is Mike Matthews, and he's the author of Bigger, Leaner, Stronger, which is a book for men, as well as Thinner, Leaner, Stronger, which is a book for women. His approach, his insight, I think he's nailed it. He's made a book that's entertaining. I also use his Stacked app to track my workouts. So go there if you're looking for fitness related advice. One of the pieces of advice I also got when it comes to health is from the late meet John Avildsen. He is the director of Karate Kid and Rocky. Pretty awesome guy, very down to earth. And I was lucky enough to meet him when I was assisting a top casting director in LA for a bunch of acting workshops. In fact, at one point when I was living in the Hollywood area, I went to as many workshops and screenings as I could with Q&As so I can ask successful people in the industry what it is that makes them successful. In fact, I asked specifically, what habits did you personally implement, or what habits did you notice other people implement that led to a lasting career? I wanted to know if there was like a science to this or a strategic approach. And John said to me, never underestimate power of good sleep. A good night rest goes a long way. That was pretty profound. So I started focusing. After hearing that advice, I started to take my sleep more seriously. And I did a video a few years ago about how to get better sleep, and it includes using like a weighted blanket, sleep in a cold environment. I might do another video where I go into more depth about the science behind these little hacks. And also I've refined my sleeping habits a little bit more than the last time I did that video. The next part is wealth and reinvesting in myself, losing that scarcity mentality. For my finances, I was always a mess, living paycheck to paycheck and struggling to be able to afford nice things. The game changer for me though was getting a Mint account, and it was free, and I was able to track my spending, link it to my bank account, and actually look at it. Yes, I would have an account for years before I'd even face the uncomfortable aspect of looking at my spending, because my ego would get hurt when I would look at the number. You can only make changes in areas that you know you're screwing up in. So I like food, and for some reason, even though I finally learned cook to impress, I still found myself dining out. And I found out that I was dining out because there was something about atmosphere and ambiance. And when I was able to figure that part out, I realized, okay, if I cook at home and eat the more expensive part of my diet at home, I can then go have like a nice coffee, a cappuccino. I can splurge a little, maybe have a cocktail or some beers with some friends, get that atmosphere without the cost of like an expensive steak dinner. So that was one adjustment I was able to make. And this isn't like a therapy session for me, but the bottom line is I shouldn't have spent what I was spending eating out, especially in LA where a bowl of ramen nowadays will cost you $25. It's like 5 In-N-Out. When I learned to cut down my expenses, I was also more willing to reinvest the money I did make, leveling up in areas of my life that I knew would help me grow as a person, therefore having more value in my pursuits of making money to pay the bills. For a long time, I ran a marketing company, so I would invest in courses on how to make websites, SEO, design work with freelancers, and these weren't cheap courses, but in the long run, they were worth it. To give some context, when I first started, I would charge $500 to build a website, and I did a few free ones to help kind of build up that portfolio. Fast forward to a few years of courses and learning to refine my sales pitch, I was charging $6,000 for a single website. It was a game changer. And I also got out of the scarcity mindset. It's one thing to be frugal in an intelligent way. It's a whole nother thing to be caught up by all of the details. If someone owes you money, for example, more than once, it's time to cut them off. Just kidding. Just don't loan people money unless you're okay with never seeing it again. Or better yet, if you can afford it and it's a higher sum of money than what you're normally comfortable with, learn to either say no or to give it as a gift and don't expect it in return, and say, this is a one-time loan, don't come back to me and ask me for it. And that way you salvage your friendship. I've been through many friendships that were uncomfortable because of money and loans here and there, and it would have been best to just understand that some people don't value money the same way you would. Also, I wish I learned this a bit sooner, but save the energy from chasing money by letting the money come to you. This is what I mean by that. What you need to do is learn to build up value in what you do. Get good at the things so that people will seek you, pay you to do what it is that you're highly skilled at. And if you don't have a skill that is high paying, it's okay. You spend your free time learning one when you're not at your actual job. This way you'll eventually not have to trade your time for money. I'm still working on that part with my eBay business, but an example is while I'm trying to find balance, keep some of the money that comes in, save the rest, and eventually use a chunk of it to pay someone to do simpler tasks that doesn't require high risk or high technical knowledge. In fact, I finally have a virtual assistant that helps me draft my listings, which saves me at least 20 hours a week or $400 a week if I were to do them myself. I factored in how much I make hourly, how much I pay them hourly, and the difference is pretty staggering. The way you learn to do this is by meeting with people that have leveled up in a field that you're trying to gain experience, in a field that you want to excel at. You can go to Chamber of Commerce meetings, you can meet other entrepreneurs that aren't so popular. There are a lot of successful people that you could shadow, you can learn from by volunteering your time, by just having the willingness to help. Now, DMing them, if they're well-to-do people, well-known, like an Alex Hormozy type, he even talks about this. He gets DMs all the time where people want to just work for him for free, and that doesn't work for someone like him. Find some people that aren't as popular and volunteer time, see if you can learn from them, and once you do that, you'll figure out what it takes to advance to the next level. That's what I did to get in good with one of the top 5 casting directors in LA at the time. I went to an acting workshop, I picked his brain, I learned what I was doing wrong to win over the audition room. I wanted to learn more, so I offered up my help when it came to websites and marketing, and it was a good relationship where we helped each other, and I was able to level up at auditioning in a way that really did change my career. It is really important that once you do start to make money is to learn to delegate and outsource the things that require your attention, in which the skill level is low. Outsourcing helps free up your time so that you can again level up. You don't really want to just relax or chill. And there's a saying about people that claim they want to retire and just go live on the beach. People have tried that and they'll go on the beach, and then by the second week they're bored because it becomes redundant. We assume that's what we want as like the dream, retiring early and kicking back, but there is definitely a joy in the journey and the hustle, and you want to find something else that will bring you that joy, and it's going to be work. I mean, work is fun, and you don't feel like it is work if you're doing something you love. It's true. When I'm on set for a show or a movie, I am working, but it doesn't really feel like work, even though there are long days, and yes, it can be taxing, but I thrive off of that. I get energy off of performing and learning and seeing how the camera team puts together the shot, and all that stuff is really cool. So I'm on my feet, I'm hustling, I'm working, but it's fun. To me, that is an ideal scenario where when I level up in acting, maybe I'll learn to direct, maybe I'll learn to produce more. So that's my vision of how I'm gonna level up or climb up the ladder and continue this journey of hustling in life and in my career. In this next section, it's one of my favorite because it's about fun. And I spoke about adherence earlier, the stickiness of a habit, and for all the things to work, for the discipline to stay intact, I've implemented a plan the fun first approach to life. What I do is I pull out a calendar at the beginning of every month and I plan the fun things that I want to do. At least once a week, I try to plan a fun activity, a coffee or a hangout with some friend or family, something social that gets my mind off of my work. If I don't have anything planned every week, I'll revisit this on Sundays so that there's something to look for. This approach allows me to put my head down and work throughout the week, knowing that I'm not neglecting a part of my life that needs attention, which is to have fun. That kid in me needs to have fun. And that's usually a personal connection with someone. It's playing games, going to a sporting event. Sometimes it's even a solo event, like going to the movies. In fact, I'll plan a solo movie sometimes, invite friends, but I won't change the plan. It's set in the calendar. I'm watching a movie at this time on this day. Join me if you can. That way you're not making too many changes. If the invite list is large or you're dealing with family, people who aren't punctual, they can join me later for a cocktail or a beer, but I'm not changing that movie time. This helps me stay in control of my schedule. And remember, the goal is to create predictable scenarios in your life so that you're better equipped to handle the unpredictable things. Life is pretty random. So let's work on putting some consistency in there. To get joy from the chaos in life, you need some order. So let's create some order. At least that's my new philosophy in life. I'm currently exploring minimalism as well. This is the next step in my life level up approach. And I'm gonna start with clothing, which is to minimize the types of clothes and the amount of clothes I wear that are hung up. I have a completely separate section for my audition clothes because I have to have like a plethora of options so that I can at least create the character a little bit. Not anything crazy, no crazy costumes, but I have a separate wardrobe for my auditions and I have a separate wardrobe for what I wear day to day. And I'm gonna dive more into minimalism, and if I do move to a new place when my lease is up, I'm going to fine tune what I own. I'm gonna get rid of a lot of stuff and make sure that this new place I move into has a clean, simple aesthetic, because I think it's what I need to stay creative, to be productive, and also to maintain like a harmony. I like that aesthetic of simplicity, and I do like gadgets, and I sometimes feel like a hoarder, but there are certain things that I need to fix in my own life. Minimalism is going to be my next approach, and maybe I'll do a video on that and we'll see. I really hope these tips help you take action. You know, start simple, do an audit on yourself, look at the amount of time you spend on each activity, and then figure out what it is you want to level up in. Let me know in the comments below what your routine looks like. If you have figured out something that helped you level up in your life, or if there's an area in your life that you want to focus on improving. If I've come across anything that'll help, I'm more than happy to put together a video talking about what I've learned or figuring it out with you. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.